Our lead comes from just outside Gotham in Jersey. The wild card weekend matchups are all the rage. And so one of those games, as we get synced up here, we'll have the supposedly upstart New York Giants paying a visit to the Twin Cities for a matchup with the Minnesota Vikings, the Purple People Eaters. Now, many a pundit are hyping up the Giants, that this is a great opportunity for them to sneak in stealth mode and get an upset over the Vikings, which is really more of a bet against the Vikings than it is confidence with the Giants. Minnesota, as you probably heard somewhere along the way, is statistically the worst good team in NFL history. Never before had we seen a team with such a top-notch record be so terrible in a key statistic. The Vikings won 13 games this season, but were outscored. They were outscored, which for many people makes that record null and void. But the Vikings were outscored by 3 points. Now, keep in mind, though, for those of you that are going gaga for the Giants, the New York Giants were also outscored by 6 points. And this is in the history of the NFL. This is just the third time we've seen a playoff matchup where both teams were outscored in the regular season. Just the third time. The other times this happened back in 2004, almost 20 years ago, the Rams and the Seahawks played in the wild card round. Then you're going to go all the way back to the 1980s, 1989, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Houston Oilers. That's right, the Houston Oilers and the Steelers, 1989 wild card round. Those are the only other two meetings other than the Giants and the Vikings this weekend. Now, meanwhile, I said Old Faithful, as reliable as Old Faithful. Been doing this job a long time, and one of the stories, it's like a boomerang. It comes around before wild card weekend every year. It also pops up before the Super Bowl. It's an old talking point that has returned. Experience. Do you have experience? Hello? Now, if you've not heard the latest from the greatest, maybe not, the Giants, the New York Giants head coach Brian Daboll has jumped into the fray. Now, to be fair, he was asked about this. He then waded through the bullcrap. Brian Daboll was asked about the lack of experience. He's not losing any sleep over the fact that many of his most important ball players do not have a single breath of air in the postseason. They have no experience ahead of that road matchup with the Vikings. He said, quote, experience is probably overrated. To be honest with you, the Giants coach snickering. He said it's how you prepare, how you practice, and ultimately how you play the game and coach the game on whatever day it is, close quote. All right, so let us discuss. Are you going to go thumbs up or thumbs down on Brian Daboll saying that essentially playoff experience is not that big a deal? So I am going 2 thumbs up. I got 2 thumbs up on this, and I say bravo. Bravo to Brian Daboll. I've got computer simulation, family tree, and napkin. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make some poutine with those cheese curds on top and the gravy, and that's what we're going to make. So, first of all, listen, I imagine that Brian Daboll would be singing a different tune if he was coaching a team that had a bunch of playoff experience and all that stuff. But it doesn't matter. He's right with what he said. In the lead up to this game, it's comical, right? The media coverage here, he's on the right side of the debate table. He's on the right side here. The amount of attention the football media, and it goes on in all sports, but we're talking football, but the amount of attention the football media give postseason experience, it's so dramatic, right? It's so dramatic. And just to make the point here, the NFL media has highlighted that out of the 10 captains the Giants have, out of the 10 captains they have, 9 of them, including Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and their big defensive player, Leonard Williams, have 0 playoff experience. 0. Oh, no, they're screwed. My rebuttal, Whoop-de-damn-do. Whoop-de-damn-do. And the reason I say that, this is not a computer simulation. If this was a computer simulation, that would matter, right? That would be a problem, but it's not. You've got the human element involved in this. And if you punch some raw data into a computer, you would blindly say, oh, no, that's a big deal. That's one of the variables, playoff experience. But having watched the playoffs over the years, and even if you're not someone that's been around a long time watching the playoffs, you can shoot all kinds of holes in that argument that playoff experience matters. What's my evidence? Let's go back to last season, way back to last year. Joe Burrow and the Bengals, with no tangible NFL playoff experience, they bowled over the rest of the American Football Conference, and they had a magic carpet ride to the Super Bowl. And on the way there, they rallied back at a great second half in Kansas City against a guy who was oozing with playoff experience, big games, Patty Mahomes, who took a ride on the Vomit Comet in the second half of that game. And so if you go by postseason experience, last year Joe Burrow had no business getting to the Super Bowl. He had no taste of the NFL playoffs. And Patrick Mahomes, are you kidding me? Come on, he had all the experience. But wait, there's more. Now, Matthew Stafford in the NFC, he had limited but rotten playoff experience. Y'all told me that the Rams had no chance because Stafford was not going to be able to get it done because he had no playoff experience and he was a loser from the Lions. Well, he went out there and beat Tom Brady. Tom Brady in a playoff game in Brady's own stadium. Brady's the gold standard for playoff experience. So based on the comps, that should not have happened. That could not have happened. That would not have happened. And it's a reminder that everyone is flying by the seat of their pants. Nobody knows anything. Nobody knows anything. All that matters is who does better in that particular moment. It's a make or miss situation. They say that about the NBA, but the NFL is the same way. It's a make or miss situation. You make the most of your opportunity or you miss your opportunity and you blow it, right? You blow it. And plus, even when somebody has played well, you've got the fact that humans are fallible. Nobody is perfect. And so even somebody that's had a great run can have a really bad day. And if those things line up, well, I think we know how this works. Now, secondly, why does the media get so worked into a tizzy, into a lather over such trivial matters like playoff experience? So the theory I have on that, and I've talked about this a lot over the years if you've been with me in previous episodes of the show, like the NFL media have a lot of bandwidth they need to fill. They're stuffing the gigabytes on these websites, and they're trying to get content that is worthy of clickbait. And how do you get clicky McClick on the social media? You toss out doom and gloom. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book. The sky is falling, the fear factor. You treat these games like the sweet science, the tail of the tape, side-by-side breakdowns, and things are not looking good for your team, and here's why. The phrase playoff experience has always been a pet peeve of mine. I'll tell you why. I consider it spam. Playoff experience is part of the same family tree as home field advantage, locker room chemistry, savvy veterans, momentum, which is bullcrap, championship pedigree, bulletin board material, all of that jargon. It's used as filler. Now, most of the time, it's after the fact. If it fits the narrative, you then bring it back. For example, if the New York Giants were to lose to the Vikings this weekend, the lack of playoff experience came back to do in. The Giants, they couldn't overcome the Vikings' home field advantage, and all that nonsense. You can combine everything together. You can sew them all together. But when it flops, when it doesn't go that way, it's quietly forgotten. The reason these teams have stood these terms rather have stood the test of time, it's because of the low information fan that eats these things up. Believe they have immeasurable value, these type of things, which is it's just a bunch of nonsense. It's a bunch of malarkey. All right, final thought. So what is your level of trust in Danny Dimes going into the playoffs? Talking about the Giants, and they're the popular pick by popular people, the talking heads. Very excited about the Giants, and the Vikings are plumb for the taking, and both teams had been outscored during the season. Is this a passing of the baton? So on the Maller scale of trust, 1 to 10, I am at a 3. I am at a 3 for Daniel Jones, who has been succeeding by hiding. I look at Daniel Jones back when you were in school. Maybe you're in school right now, but when you're in school, and you know how you sometimes you have those group projects, and there's always that one person that doesn't carry their weight in the group project. They just they're the caboose. They kind of ride along. That, in a nutshell, is Daniel Jones. The Giants have had a successful season. They beat a lot of bad teams. But Daniel Jones is not the locomotive. He's the caboose. He's an afterthought. Saquon Barkley is the straw that stirs the drink. Daniel Jones is like a cocktail napkin. He's not necessary. You can have a martini without a cocktail napkin. You can do it. You need to stir it, though, a little bit. You can enjoy your drink without the napkin is what I'm trying to say, and Jones is the napkin. The Giants, here's my evidence. The Giants' passing offense ranked 26th in the NFL this year. The Texans, who had the second worst record, and the Colts actually had better passing offenses than the Giants. Daniel Jones, background noise in most of these games. And the biggest indictment of Daniel Jones, when the game was on the line and the Giants gave him opportunities, he did not come through. For example, in the fourth quarter, when the game was within 7 for the Giants, Danny Dimes, in those situations, had 1 touchdown pass, 3 interceptions, and a passer rating of below 60. P.U. What stinks? So he was not getting it done the few times he got the opportunity. Now, this is an intriguing subplot, and it's very difficult to handicap it. We will have this game fully broken down on Friday's Benny versus the Penny for the wild card weekend. But you have the immovable object versus the unstoppable force in reverse here. Kirk Cousins, who, let's be honest here, Kirk Cousins has been gasping for breath in so many big games over the years. He's been a lounge act for the Vikings. And then you've got Daniel Jones, who we don't know what he's going to do in the playoffs because he's never broken through until this year. But we know that his reputation is that of a tomato can. So something is going to give. You've got the lounge act versus the tomato can.